Hi, it's Nikki Bowman here, and welcome to this week's Three View. This week's book is one that's been around for a while, and it's called Dealing with the Tough Stuff by Darren and Alison Hill and Dr. Sean Richardson. Now, Darren and Alison are consultants who work very much in a similar space to me, a leadership space. They've been doing it a lot longer, and they built up some amazing knowledge and IP around their work. This book I picked up a while ago because one of the key questions I always get asked as a leadership coach and trainer is, how do I have the tough conversations? And what I enjoyed about this book was that they worked really hard to have great titles for the chapters. So it's called Dealing with the Tough Stuff, and then they have Dealing with the Fluff Stuff, Dealing with the Gruff Stuff. So they've. I always enjoy it when somebody's worked hard to kind of make the theme throughout the book cohesive. So there's loads of insights in this because it's really quite detailed as to each of the types of behaviours and difficult conversations you might want to have in the workplace. But three of the insights that stood out really for me were, number one, when you're dealing with anger or high emotion, it can be really effective just to say nothing. And when they say nothing, they also mean say nothing with your face. So sometimes we'll stop talking. If someone's really angry and we're having a stoush in the workplace, or someone's crying and really upset, we'll stop talking, but we'll start doing this. So we're really telling them, as you know, body language is 70% of what we communicate. So we're really telling them, no. So what you do is you just actually blank slate it. And it can stop the conversation in its tracks and bring the mood down, because what you want to do is, as they put it, be like a successful bouncer in a nightclub. You're not escalating your mood. You're actually bringing your tone down, your voice down, and the mood of the conversation down to de-escalate the situation. So I thought that was a great tip, particularly about the just stopping and being quiet and impassive. The second thing is the concept of bluffers, of people in the workplace who maraud around with less than good intent and who often can be bullies. So they're exhibiting really strong behaviours. They've put these people into two categories, and I think that's really important to note, because the first category is your corporate psychopath. Now, I don't have time to define what that is, but essentially the advice on that is give them a wide berth, because there's actually nothing you can do in practical terms once you realise that person is truly a corporate psychopath. But the second category, and this is where you have to kind of figure out which one is which, are people who are actually damaged. And the reason they're behaving aberrantly is because of damage they've suffered in the past. And it could be as long ago as their childhood, or it could be simply things that have happened in previous workplaces. So what you're seeing is behavior that reads to you like bullying or abuse, or, loud outbursts and criticism. It might be coming from a place for them of being worried about you. Maybe they've been in a place where people haven't worked the way they should and everyone's lost their job, and they don't want that to happen, but they haven't been given the tools to deal with that effectively. So figure out which is which, because the second category of people, there are tools and techniques that you can use to work with them to eventually mean that those behaviours start to dissipate. And the third one, and the one that resonates a lot, which is around this resistance, the resistance to change in particular, and the use of empathy to overcome that. So you see somebody in the workplace and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, they're not changing the procedure they're meant to change it, and the tendency is to go up and say, I've just noticed you're not doing this, how come you're not doing this, da, 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 da. And so they've just given a few really great small conversational techniques to shift the empathy to a stronger position. So instead of saying, I've noticed you're doing this, when you do that, you lead with the word I, and suddenly it's about you. So turn it around and say, so you've decided not to do that. Can I understand a bit more about why? So you're taking that I out of it to build that empathy with them. And as much as possible, everything's about you. You seem upset. not I've noticed you're upset. You seem upset about the decision that was taken to change the way we do things. Can you explain a bit more about that? It's a really subtle change in language, but I really agree with them that it can have a very significant impact in terms of how that lands for the person that you're speaking with. And once you've built up an empathy, then you can start to build a little bit more of yourself into it. So I also found the changes challenging, but in order to move forward, we have to find a resolution to this. So you're always still moving it along. This is not a sob session. This is not you listening to them talk for 2 hours and not doing anything. You need to be able to then share your position and then come to what is the move forward position. So I really, really liked this book. I think it's only a small book, but it's quite densely packed with some really great tips, any one of which could transform the way that you can interact with your peers and with your other co-workers. So I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 3. And that's it from me this week. Have a great weekend. See ya.